Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia on my mind. I said, Georgia, Georgia, a song of you comes as sweet and clear as moonlight through the pines.
Dave Marish, Sander Van Oker, Sylvia Chase, Dr. Carl Sagan, Thomas Hoving, Geraldo Rivera, Harold Hayes, and Robert Hughes.
Good evening, I'm Hayes.
And I'm Hughes.
Tonight, a 2020 look at the Pinto gas tank scandal involving 500,000 cars. We'll talk with one of the victims.
Well, not bitter. I'm, always sad that it happened and stuff, But, I'm trying to overcome it, but, it's still there. But I think it'll work out one of these days.
10 years ago, Bobby Baker was Lyndon Johnson's #1 wheeler dealer, and it landed him in jail. Tonight, he tells 2020's Dave Marish why wheeling dealing is still as American as apple pie.
The big dogs know where the power is better than the little dog. But the little dog is sort of, it takes the little dog a little longer to learn than the big dog.
5 years ago, Flip Wilson quit playing Geraldine to play father to his own children. Tonight, he tells 2020 how much more it hurt him than it did them.
Daddy, when is enough? And that was it. She never cried. I never spanked her again.
And if you've recently been asked, or more likely told, thank you for not smoking, 2020 is prepared tonight, whether you smoke or don't, to tell you your rights and how to stay out of fights.
Would you really get into a physical brawl over a
I'll pick you up and throw you out by the seat of your pants in about 2 seconds.
Over a cigarette?
That's right.
A silly cigarette?
That's right. You're taxing yourself.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's all right.
And here comes Sun Power, the hottest new solution to the energy crisis, we hope.
This wayward week turned 4 days into 1 day and then called all 4 of them Sunday, a nationwide festival aimed at promoting solar energy.
In New York, Robert Redford, the Sundance Kid in person, gave one reason why.
The sun will always work.
Except when the sun don't shine, which was precisely the problem in cloudy Colorado. Jimmy Carter had to deliver his Sunday speech in a Rocky Mountain drizzle.
And then it was off to California to meet the enemy.
Welcome, said Governor Brown.
And nice to see you, said President Carter. And see you later, like in 1980.
Then Jimmy Carter visited the LA ghetto of Watts.
Now that's the way presidents like to be greeted.
Meantime, it was a wayward week at the racetrack, too.
The crowd at Pimlico was stunned by these spills.
One jockey was killed.
And the crowd at Churchill Downs went wild over this finish as affirmed with teenage jockey Steve Cawthon up, won the Kentucky Derby.
And now for the week's toppers. The top tune is still Night Fever by the Bee Gees.
The top movie this week is House Calls with Walter Matthau and Glenda Jackson.
The top TV show, Three's Company.
And the top book, The Complete Book of Running by James Fix. By the way, Hayes, how's your jogging?
4 city blocks today, Hughes.
Not terribly impressive. The top jock was Cincinnati's Pete Rose, who got base hit number 3,000 off the Montreal Expos.
And in Italy, the end to a long, agonizing story, police found ex-premier Aldo Moro in a stolen van, his body riddled with bullets.
And fresh out of the slammer, John Ehrlichman gave this thumbnail sketch of his old pal Richard Nixon.
Complex, devious, insecure,
and rich.
But not his publishers. The book just isn't moving.
Ah, yes, another wayward week.
Well, at least this tape didn't have an 18-minute gap on it here, Hayes.
Each week, 2020 will open, as you've just seen, with a comedy tease, our main titles and music, a billboard of our major stories, and the Wayward Week recap of the week's top newsmakers and events. Then starting here on the program, there will be 4 major stories in each hour. First, the lead story. What's that? Whatever we believe is the hottest or most incisive story of the week. It could be Robert Haldeman and his efforts to recycle himself.
It could be John Travolta's dancing, or Pete Rose's hitting, or David Beagleman's kiting. What we give our lead story is a scope that no one correspondent and no single camera and no set approach can ever bring to the evening news on day of air. We go after that story in detail with all the technology at hand and the full worldwide resources of ABC News.
Our next major story is an investigative report. A while back, it might have been the scandal of the Pinto gas tank that blew up, as we showed in our opening. For obvious reasons, we don't want to say here what our upcoming investigative reports will be. You can count on them for solid writing and research and compelling visual treatment. But we won't be badgering little old ladies to ask them why they took coins out of the collection plate. These investigative reports are national in scope and importance, stories that touch your lives.
Our third major story is about people. People that people are talking about or soon will be. Politicians, world leaders, or maybe a powerful wheeler dealer like Bobby Baker, as interviewed here by 2020's Dave Marish.
No fear, Bobby Baker's here. And I bet you don't.
But what sustains these rebels? What paid Baker's $300,000 legal bills? The profits of smart insider investments, like the Mortgage Guarantee Insurance Company.
The sort of subtle hint to Internal Revenue that this bill was going to pass, even though they were opposed to it, they conveniently made an administrative ruling, which was a big bonanza for MGIC.
And for everybody who owns stock in it, including me. Mr. Robert G. Baker.
Mr. Robert G. Baker did very well. I think I made about $500,000. But, you know, that is as American as apple pie.
But doesn't this mean that in some sense, to make your government work efficiently for you, you got to buy a piece of it?
Yes.
That's tough for the people who can't afford it.
That's true.
But that's as American as apple pie, too?
Well, it's been going on before you and I were born, and it will continue after you and I are gone.
Athletes like tennis superstar Guillermo Vilas and Heisman Trophy winner Earl Campbell. And when the cheering stops, we'll still be there to find the human inside the hero. Here's Campbell at home with his mom.
We'll look at performers performing like Elvis Costello.
Elvis who?
Elvis Costello, Elvis which? If you don't know, ask your kids. And if your kids aren't around to ask, join us for a look at the new Smash Kid musical, Runaways.
We'll also show you performers in a way you've never seen them before.
I called the other kids and took them in the room. I said, I'm going to spank her. And I woke her up and I told her that I'm going to spank you. And each time that I hit you with the belt, it was a little thin belt, strap, I want you to repeat this line. That I will not do that again. I forget what it was. I think you'd slam somebody's hand in the door or something. What was that? I don't remember. It was something, well, anyway. So, she said, okay, Daddy. So she pulled her pajamas down. So I hit her one time. She said the line, I won't do that anymore. So I hit her a second time. She said the line, I won't do that anymore. So I hit her 3 times. She said the line, but she hadn't cried yet. So I'm wondering why isn't she crying? So I hit her again. She said the line, and I'm still shook that she's not crying. And it concluded with her saying, Daddy, Daddy, when is enough? And that was it. She never cried. I never spanked her again. She remembers. She remembers. You remember, don't you? I was so concerned with being a good parent that I might have pressed it more than I should have at the moment. And even in the case that I did, I made a mistake. I admitted it, but and I think the tears just might reflect the fact that I could just not believe that they were that good, and they are.
Sometimes here at home base, you'll see Hughes and me with our correspondents talking to them directly about the stories they're doing. Correspondents like Geraldo Rivera. Hi, Geraldo. How you doing?
Pretty good. Good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good. Nice to have you here. Geraldo's working on special reports for 2020. What's the story of the moment?
Ferals.
Meaning wild people?
Wild people. Feral people. As Dr. Alan Beck of the New York Bureau of Animal Affairs told me, these are people who in the midst of civilization decide to turn wild. They live as wild people right in our cities.
Let's take a look at it.
Get out of here, I told you! I said no pictures!
These wild people are living in the subways, parks, sidewalks, and back alleys of an urban jungle, the streets of the big northern cities.
Yeah.
This is your food? You eat this?
Yeah, that's what I eat.
Only lettuce? This is all you eat?
I ain't got no money.
You have no money?
No.
Most street people exist on restaurant garbage. Their diets contain very little protein. This fellow found a bagel in a convenient trash can. Too hard to chew, he softened it up first by stomping on it.
Hughes, there's a lot of space around here we haven't shown.
Too right.
Let's walk around.
Okay. Actually, you know, Hayes, we can go any place in the world we want to through the work of people that you'll never see on the program. Field producers and writers, researchers, film and ENG cameramen, film and tape editors who get the story through to us back at home base or here, where we connect from our home to yours.
Our last major story is a window on all the other wonders of the world. The arts, education, business, trends and customs, medicine and science, people you don't know, but you ought to know about for the unsung wonders of their daily lives. Sometimes we'll go out of this world, as science correspondent Carl Sagan does with this film. It takes us from a point beyond our galaxy downwards to two picnickers on the shores of Lake Michigan at the rate of 10 powers of magnitude per second. An astonishing visual experience.
In each 2 seconds, we will appear to cover 90% of the remaining distance back to Earth. Notice the alternation between great activity and relative inactivity. A rhythm that will continue all the way into our next goal, a proton in the nucleus of a carbon atom beneath the skin on the hand of the sleeping man at the picnic. Ten to the 9th meters, 10 to the 8th, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are back at our starting point. We slow up at 1 meter, 10 to the 0 power.
Tom Hoving, our arts correspondent, and by the arts we also mean movies and television, went to Paris to get the story on the controversial new Pompidou Museum. Each week, 2020 will have regular features, and one of these is words.
Words. Avuncular. Of pertaining to or resembling an uncle, especially a benevolent uncle.
And we'll be hearing weekly from a couple of anonymous friends, Cry and Whisper. You don't see them, but I'm sure you'll get the message.
Those new boots?
Brand new. Ralph Lauren. Like 'em?
A sneakers man myself. Well, some places you just can't go in sneakers.
That you can in boots?
Boots go anywhere, everywhere.
I'll still stick with Woody Allen on footwear.
Oh, I feel so sorry for Betty Ford.
She's got company.
Meaning?
Been the same bad trip for Joan Kennedy. On her own now in Boston. And from Truman Capote with his grape juice. And for Richard Burton, ever since no Oscar.
Oh, I love Richard Burton.
I know. Even for Billy Carter after maybe too many Billy Bears.
Then isn't it good to hear that Donny Osmond's marrying Debbie Glenn?
He divorcing Marie?
Marie is his sister, dummy.
There's ground. Know who else in June?
Who?
Philippe Junot and Princess Caroline, despite her mom and dad.
Remember Yippee Jerry Rubin?
He loose again.
No, he just got married.
Jerry always did say, do it. Hey, Shirley Temple on her 50th birthday.
Baryshnikov leaving the American Ballet Company.
Defecting again?
Only to New York. The French are getting a new Marianne.
Brigitte Bardot is being defaced?
Replaced.
By somebody in boots.
Boots always.
Except in bed.
I'm not in the bed. I'm on the bed.
Another is American short stories, quick looks at what's new, touching, or just plain off the wall. Here are two guys in California who've gone into business for themselves, but we're not sure if they're dead serious about it.
I work for IBM during the day. At night, I rent coffins. We rent the coffins out for a basic price of $50, and that includes the coffin, flowers, candelabras, and everything you might think of having with a coffin. We'll take cash. We also accept MasterCharge, Bank AmeriCard, American Express.
Here, Patty, take a drink. You need it.
But the hour always ends up back at home base for 2020's last look and your first at the week ahead. A feature that tells you, for example,
when President Jimmy Carter's going to be in trouble with Congress again even before he knows.
Or, as another example, why Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis will not be attending any showings of The Greek Tycoon.
And then he'll say,
I'm Hayes.
And I'm Hughes.
Good night.
Courage, we're all in this together.
Some people see the world through rose-colored glasses. Others see the world through shades. But it doesn't make sense when you're sitting on the fence. So you got